Hi folks, Ariel over here at Finance, where today we are doing the very last beet harvest of the year, and so I wanted to show it to you before I was all done. So I grew multiple kinds of beets, I've been harvesting them and eating them for quite a while. Had some very large ones, had some couple that just stayed really teeny, and a lot of medium-sized ones. This variety is called choiga or candy cane beet. You'll see why when I go inside. But these are just nice average sized beets for the most part here. Some areas you'd probably get them a little larger with a little more warmth. They have grown pretty well this year. I have not had a gopher problem with the new garden beds. I have, however, had some mice. The mouse vole small rodent population in the area this year, like across the whole area, has been just pretty crazy. I'm not sure what weather conditions led to a population explosion, but everyone I know with a garden, a yard, anything has had more rodent activity and tunnels and stuff through it than hardly ever. So I assume that means in the next year there'll be an explosion of everything that eats the mice, the pine martens and the foxes and whatever, and the mice population will go back in check, and then the other stuff will. That's kind of how nature works. But I have had a few nibbling off the tops. Like this one's a good one to illustrate. This is not my gopher problem that I had before these beds where they grab them from the root underneath and pull the whole plant down. This is something nibbling from the top that ate most of that one out. If it's just a nibble or two, I'll cut it out. That one is pretty much toast. They ate most of it. There's a good sized one. But just pulling these up, beets are generally pretty easy to just pull by hand. The leaves are totally edible. I eat beet greens quite often. That is the one thing in my whole garden that I can produce more of than I can eat. Green leafy things, because you can eat cabbage leaves and kale leaves and chard leaves and my 15 different kinds of lettuces and spinach and my 6 or so different kinds of beet leaves and broccoli leaves and cauliflower leaves and so on. So the green leafy things, which I really enjoy, are the one thing I can grow more of than I actually can quite consume. So I'm not saving these leaves just because I've got plenty of leaves at the moment. Oh, that guy's one golden beet. I thought I had pulled all of my golden ones, but that's one more that I did not have. I thought I only had candy stripe ones left. These also need to get out of the soil. Oh, there's 2 golden ones I'd missed because we're expecting temps around 0. It is, people ask me, I just got a question the other day, do you ever try to overwinter any of your veggies, or at least after the first frost? Yes, if you're new here, welcome. I get frost all summer long. It has been, we've still had days, like right now it's above freezing, where it's getting above freezing by afternoon, but it's been in the teens Fahrenheit every night for weeks at this point. So these have not only had a frost, these have had hard freezes. But the temperature is forecasted to go, I think the forecast says about 3 degrees in another day or so, and usually my spot is a couple degrees colder than the closest town that they're forecasting for. So I'm expecting 0-degree temperatures here, and I'm expecting that this soil, which has been freezing, will freeze solid and probably not thaw again until, May, of next year. So because I want to eat these, I'm getting them out. So I've got a nice handful of beets here, and this one's just going to go into the compost just like that, since they ate most of it. And we're going to come over here, and I do a quick wash outside just to keep the majority of that soil. I can shake off what I can, but then we're going to try to leave the majority of the soil outside just because it makes cleaning inside easier. So come over here with me. So this here is my water tank, also known as an old horse trough, which just lives back here behind the brush, behind the garden, behind the house. And I generally keep this full. I'm about to dump it because of those really low temperatures, and flip it upside down for the winter. Normally in the summer I keep it full just to use as my outdoor washing station. So I just take my whole clump of beautiful beets here, and having already shaken off all the soil that I can, just rinse most of the rest of it off. Again, this is just to keep the majority of, the dirt out of the kitchen. And then because I'm not saving these beet greens, just thanks to having plenty, I'm just going to give them a twist, and they are all going to go into the compost and back into growing more food next year. You could also use a knife to cut these off if you prefer. But then we're going to take these inside and show you one of my favorite ways to cook beets. Lots and lots of ways to use beets that I enjoy. Now that they're washed, you can see the colors better. You'll see them even better once they are actually cut into the inside and see them. But these are candy striped, and a couple golden beets and one red one that I had missed, looks like as well. So that's that, and we're going to head inside. Okay, so now I've got beets inside. I did give them another little rinse beyond my dunk outside. And now I'm going to do this where you can see it. Just tidy them up a little bit. So I'm just cutting off the top and some of these long skinny root bits. Of course, the part we're eating is actually root as well. And some people prefer their beets peeled if you want to do that, or if you have some from a grocery store, the peel could be a little tougher because they're often much older. You may want to do that. You can peel them raw. The beets are pretty firm, so that can be pretty tough. It can be easier to steam them and kind of just rub the peel off if you want to do that. I am not going to bother because I like the skin on mine, and a lot of the nutrients, like a lot of other things, is in the skin. So I'm just tidying these up a little bit, and then we're going to dice them up. One of my other favorite ways to do this, and it's a little bit of a trade-off, do you want to spend more time prepping or more time cooking, is to shred them. You could either do that by hand with a little like cheese grater kind of shredder, or I do actually have an attachment for the KitchenAid that you can run things through and it shreds them. So if I'm going to do a whole bunch of something, I might take the time to do that because then they do cook much quicker. But to just do a handful to make a lunch, it takes a hair more time to cook, but it's quicker for me to just dice them up. Now here's one of my beets that got a little bit munched by a mouse there on the surface, and I'm just going to cut out that spot where the mousey munched it, since it hadn't eaten the whole thing. That's not a big deal. So anyway, this is, a lot of people ask about, you know, what do I eat for meals and stuff. Well, I do have quite a few cooking videos here now, and there will always continue to be more as I have time to film things, but this is going to be my lunch today. Well, with probably a few other things, but this is going to be part of the lunch. So we're going to trim these up, and then we're going to dice them up, and that I think is actually the fun part because you get to see all of the beautiful colors inside here. And this is, I actually thought I had all just the candy striped ones left to show you guys, but this will be fun because I can show you a few other colors too there of the ones that I missed. The candy striped and the golden ones can be nice if you want something that isn't going to stain everything a very brilliant color. The dark red beets, they're wonderful as well, but they will stain your hands, your cutting board, anything that you touch with them. Super nutritious, great for you, highly recommend it. If you do eat the dark red beets, I always warn people if I have guests over or something, to remember the next time you go to the bathroom, remember what the color of that beet looks like so that you don't think that you need to go to the ER. Because when you eat actual red beets like this guy we're about to see here, that deep dark purpley red, you will see it next time you go to the bathroom. These are my two golden ones. You can see they're brilliant. They're a little more orange peeled and brilliant yellow inside. And then the rest of these are candy stripe. And like I said, these are fun. I do like all of them, but check out that beautiful color. And it's a pink and white stripe the whole way around. Some are a little darker, some are a little paler, but just really pretty colors. And colorful food is fun to grow and eat because of the natural beauty, but also, as I've talked about before, all those different colors are different bioflavonoids and anthocyanins and all kinds of little micronutrients that are important and valuable to have in your diet, and that a lot of modern American diets anyway have really lost. So it is valuable to get that kind of thing back into our diet. Plus, it's just pretty and fun. So, you could cook them in halves. You could cook them whole if you really wanted to peel them. I would probably do that. But now that you can see all of their prettiness, I'm just going to dice them up. And kind of like I talked about with the shredding, the smaller chunks you make, the less time you'll have to cook. The bigger chunks, the less time you have to prep. So just trade off on what do you want to do with your time. But I'm going to do that. We can actually get this started. I'm going to cook these much like I cook most of my veggies, just a tiny bit of water in the bottom of the pan there. A little more for beets than some things, because they're not as juicy as some vegetables, so not as much water is going to cook out of them. And where they're harder and crunchier, more like a carrot than a cabbage, they take just a little bit longer to cook soft, so you need just a little bit more water to make steam before it's all evaporated there. Just going to toss them all in here, and you guys should tell me down below what if you've ever grown beets, if you've ever eaten beets. I know there's a whole lot of different kinds. Even though I only have one of the dark red ones represented here, I do grow about 6 different kinds of dark red ones, and then the golden and the candy striped as well. So I know there are a whole lot of beet varieties. I know that I'm sure some of you guys have grown or eaten different varieties that I'm not even familiar with or have never tried, so that'd be fun to hear about. I find different variations in foods around the world quite fascinating, even when they're similar things. Now, just something to note, it doesn't affect the flavor or anything, but if you cook golden beets that are that really pretty pale color with any darker ones, even the candy striped ones, and certainly with the very dark purple ones, they will turn purple, because that's a pretty potent dye. It's even used as a food coloring, which for some things, which is great because a lot of artificial food dyes are highly toxic. But that's just something to be aware of. If you want your golden beets to keep their golden color, you need to cook only golden ones with other golden ones. Give that a little stir. I'm going to halfway cover it to keep the steam in there, because that steam is what's going to cook them. And beets are going to take like 10 minutes or so. Like I said, they take a little longer than a lot of other softer veggies. So we'll just check back in on them, and I just cook them till they're just soft enough I can poke the fork into them. The beets, as you can see here, start to foam up just a little bit as they start to cook, so you don't want your heat on very high. Plus we want to cook our veggies nice and gently. So just check on them and give them a little stir there, but what's mostly cooking them is the steam evaporating out of there. Okay, so my beets are getting pretty soft here. I'm going to actually leave the lid off now, because I want to evaporate out the rest of this moisture. Now that when I stick a fork in them, I can kind of pierce them. So they're just a hair firm yet. I'm going to let it keep going to evaporate the rest of the moisture, and then I'm not pouring anything off. I'm keeping all of my nutrients in my food there. Okay, beets are pretty much done. You can see there now when I stir, there's just getting to be no water in the bottom of the pan, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to add a little salt. Could have done this earlier, didn't need to wait to the end. I just didn't get around to it. This is Celtic Grey. I like to rotate different salts in my diet for the different amounts of minerals in them. So add a little salt, and I like just a little bit of butter. You could use a little coconut oil, flaxseed oil, whatever you like. Melt that in here at the end. The beets are going to melt it just because they are still hot. Give that a stir. And I'm going to have these for lunch with some sardines. You can cook sardines in various ways. Maybe sometime I'll get a chance to do videos about that. I really just like eating them plain. Wild caught, they're one of the most nutrient dense and full of good healthy oils and such fish sources there are. They don't tend to accumulate all the hazards like mercury and such that are in bigger fish, and this is just in water, no salt, nothing else, just the fish and water. And that fish juice actually Burley's going to lick up. He loves that. If I'm cooking something, I use the juice in there as well. So, a little butter, a little salt on our beets, and I'm going to have this with a little cabbage, which is almost done as well. So that'll give me enough leftovers. I can have lunch again tomorrow without having to make any new meal or take the time to cook. I could just toss it in a pan and heat it up real quick. Look delicious and tasty. Hi folks, Ariel over here. Thanks for spending some of your valuable time watching these videos. Hopefully you found something beautiful, educational, interesting, peaceful, relaxing, or useful while you were here. If so, find more videos here, subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and if you like what you found here, feel free to like and share away so that others can benefit as well. You all have a wonderful day.